just to do the introduction, and then now we can make progress. Now I'm going to give people just a few people, whoever wants to do the introduction, feel free. And this is the pattern that I would want us to use. So first, so the first thing, just introduce yourself. You can tell us the name that you prefer. So just say your name and your most preferred name. Your professional background, that is number 2. So what do you do professionally? Are you a finance person, HR, marketing? Okay. Then also your experience in working with Excel and Power BI. So what has been your experience with Excel and Power BI? Okay. I think that is important. Okay. And if you have used any other tool in your day-to-day reporting, analysis, visualization, so what has been your experience? Okay. Are you a user? Is it Excel or Power BI? Is it something that you use on a daily basis? Okay. Then what is that one thing that you'd want to achieve at the end of this masterclass? So I'll be taking notes so that when I am delivering, or when the experts and the other partners are doing their presentation, or maybe they are giving their insights, then we will be able to share and maybe talk about that specific area you're going to share. Okay. If you're not able to do the presentation, you're not able to speak through the microphone, use the chat box. Use the chat box. Utilize the chat box. Just say your name, what you do, your experience with Power BI and Excel, and then what are your expectations. So this will help us to ensure that we deliver something that is very forecasted. So I think I can start. So let me just start so that I open up. So my name is Asino Simon. I prefer Simon. My background is finance, a bit of HR, and data analytics. I've really done a lot in public finance and also financial reporting. Then now the analytics bit of it. So I've been training Advanced Excel for quite some time, and also Power BI. Power BI is a very recent tool. So I've worked with this tool, and on a day-to-day basis, that is what I do. I work with individuals and organizations with regards to proper usage of Excel and Power BI. Every day, that is what I do. Okay. So my expectation at the end is to make sure I am able to share as much information as possible to get new challenges. I always to learn new things. I always say nobody is a custodian of knowledge. Nobody has all the knowledge. We need to share. So the moment you share, the moment you share information, learning takes place. You're able to share with others. You're able to receive. And that is now the kind of learning we look at. So I'm just going to look at the list, call out your name. If you're okay, you can just open your microphone and introduce yourself briefly. If you're not in a position, use the chat box so that we can proceed. So on the list, I'm just going to give a few people. So the first person on the list, I have Beatrice. Beatrice, if you are in a position to just do a brief introduction as part of the start, you're much welcome. You can, the floor is yours. If not, you can use the chat box. So just your name, what you do, your experience with Excel and Power BI, and then what is that you want to really understand by the time we are close with these presentations. Beatrice Ahono, I don't know if you're in a position. Okay. Let me go to the next person. Benjamin. So I'm just looking at the list. Okay. Oh, thank you, Teresa, for using the chat box. So you say you use Excel on a daily basis, new in Power BI, hoping to learn something new. Awesome. Great. Thank you, Teresa. On the list, Benjamin. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. Much welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Just a second. Sorry, my name is Benjamin Miguel.
Yes.
Myself, I'm a CPA. I work as an internal auditor at the group level, and
Yes.
my experience spanning to 22 years. I use Excel every day, and but the Power BI is something that I've just been, I've not been able to use it. So probably I wanted to learn more about it today and understand. Yes.
Okay, so Power BI.
Unfortunately, now, sorry, I don't know how to be able to join 2 meetings because I'm seeing another management meeting again at 3. Well, I'll see how to manage, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
But thank you so much.
Much welcome. Okay. So actually, we are recording the session. So I think even in case you miss a certain part, you'll be able to share. And in case you have any query, feel free to reach out to me. We can always have a one-on-one anytime.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Much welcome. Thank you, Benjamin, for that.
Thanks.
Let me see. I just want to do the introduction very fast. You can see Harun. Okay. Yes, Harun, any introduction? So I'm just going to give like 5 people, then we start. Harun, so you can use the chat box so that we also take advantage of the time that we have.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is CPA Harun.
Yes.
I'm also an internal auditor, and I've used Excel many times. I've experienced a lot of challenges in terms of formatting, filtering data, and data analysis.
Okay.
So I've not used the Power BI before. First, today I would like to see the relationship between the Excel and the Power BI. Also, to understand more on the use of the Excel, at least I can enhance my education on Excel, and also to familiarize myself with the Power BI and how to use it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You've mentioned something on analysis. That is something you're going to do today, analysis and modeling.
Yes.
Filter is a tool called Advanced Filter. We may not touch on it, but it's a very good tool. But I'll mention it because now you've brought it up. I'll mention it.
Please do that.
Okay, thank you. Isaac, if you can hear me. So, this, when you're having these introductions, it helps even for me to understand what is it that I need to give as a tip, maybe give as an idea. So it helps. Yes,
Okay.
so thank you, Aaron. Isaac. Isaac, I don't know if you're in a position. Okay. Let me go to Simon Matindi. Okay, you use the chat box. Thank you. You use on a daily basis or Power BI, or to connect Power BI to Excel for live updates. Oh, awesome. Those are the things. Let me write it down. Live updates. Sometimes you've shared a document out there, and you want, when people feed in, your reports automatically adjust. That is an interesting thing. So live updates of Excel. It was not part of my presentation, but I'm going to add it. I'm going to touch on it. So we call it automation. So I'm going to touch something on automation. as we just discussed. Thank you for that, Simon. Let me just think we're almost done. Simon K. Thank you. Also notice Power BI, so I think the same. That is good. Tracy, I think we also have Tracy, one of our partners. So we have partnered with Tally. So Tracy, maybe you can just say something, maybe an introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy. I work with Tally under the CPA initiative, where we support accountants and businesses in improving how they manage and use financial data. So in terms of my experience, I've been working closely with professionals who rely heavily on Excel for reporting and increasingly Power BI for visualization. So I see both the strengths and some of the challenges around data preparation and consistency. So from this session, my expectations, I'm just really looking forward to deeper insights on how to better leverage Excel and Power BI for efficient reporting and decision making, and maybe also understand how we can bridge the gap between data collection and meaningful insights, and just working closely with the CPAs here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Awesome. That is good. So Tally is we have partnered with Tally. Tally is a software that has been there, and you can also see there's that integration between Excel and I call them specialized tools. And I'm going to talk about that in my presentation. So I think let me take that as part of the presentation so that we can start. I've tried to minimize the PowerPoint so that we can do more of practice. Because, for example, if I say this is how we analyze it, I do not want just to say it theoretically. I want us to go and see the tool itself. Okay, I think that would will satisfy the term masterclass. It is not just any webinar. We want to see how these tools work. If it is an analysis tool, let us see how it works. Okay. I hope I've not forgotten anyone in terms of introduction. If there is anybody who would want to say something, please say before we can start. So, so I'm going to just run the slides a bit. And then from there, I'm going to give, I think Tracy had asked me for a short presentation, so I'm going to give them, I think Tracy, I can accord you the time maybe at around 3:30. Maybe I just do something, then I give you like 20 minutes, then we start the practice. Yes. Okay. So
yes, that's okay.
That's okay, thank you. So let me start with talking about the history behind the spreadsheet. Okay, because it is important we start from way back where it all started. Okay. Now, there was a class I was training some internal auditors on how to use AI, in audit practice. And I hope the auditors here, you've already looked at the new IIA framework when it comes to artificial intelligence. Remember, this is automation. And if you look at the phases of automation, we move from manual to digitization, then to automation. I don't know how many have reached automation, but I think as a country, we are not yet there. We are not yet in automation. We are just trying with the likes of the ChatGPT and the Copilot. We call them generative AIs, but we are not yet there. Actually, from one of the discussions is that if you look at audit in parts of our counties, here in Kenya, I know we have people from other countries. If you look at here in Kenya, sometimes we have, the counties are still doing maybe audits manually. Okay, so there's manual verification. So we are not yet there in terms of automation, but it is good we move to that level. I think Kenya has already launched the AI strategic plan 2026-2030. So it is good to also check that document, just see what is it that country is looking at. Yes, Aaron, let me see. I would appreciate if you can recommend the use of AI for internal auditors. Yes, Aaron, actually, I have trained a number of people on AI in audit. Remember, there are those internal auditors standards, and right now we have now the frameworks. Okay, interesting thing that I saw there was most accountants are afraid that they are going to be replaced. And actually, the internal auditors, we call it what? The IIA. Yeah, so they mentioned that in their publication, saying that, accountants are now becoming worried if they are going to be replaced. Anyway, let me not go to AI. I've already jumped to automation. Let me first of all talk about where it all started. So if you look at okay, so if you look at digital evolution, okay, there are actually normally three phases. There's the manual phase. So before the 80s, there 70s, there was a lot of manual work, even spreadsheets. You see the way, and I'm glad I'm seeing a majority of the people here are accountants. The way we used to do the T accounts, they were done in actual books. Okay, I know maybe there are some we call them what? MIDAs, ministries, agencies, MDS, ministries, agencies, and what? They're still doing
Ministry, department,
yes?
and agencies.
We call them what? MIDAs.
Ministry, MDAS.
Oh, ministries, departments, and
Department, agencies.
oh, yes. Ministry, department, and agencies, MDAs. They are
Yes.
still doing things manually, and you can attest to this. You find people are still recording things manually. I mean, that is where we are. That is the realistic bit of it. In terms of digitization, digitization is the processes that are manual. We now make them computerized. Okay, so we are slowly moving into digitization, but there's a big worry. People are starting to feel as if they are going to be replaced with these computers and these tools, and which is not the case. Okay, so for me, actually, I'm even concerned. What if we go to AI, where audit is done by those tools? Okay, so we need to understand these tools. We understand how they're important to us, and also to understand that they are not replacing us. Okay, but they are there to assist. Okay, so for example, if you look at so before the 80s, there was a lot of manual analysis, and there was no much analysis, by the way, before the 80s. But after the 80s, there was that need to start looking at data more critically. And if you look at a tool like Excel was launched back in, so that was like the first spreadsheet, was launched back in 1984. So Excel has been there. So it has seen the true test of time. If I can show you the first Excel, I have some pictures of the first Excel interface. I mean, it was not something you could even think of. Remember, even the computers were still also old age. So since 1984, this tool then has been very solid. In terms of its development, Excel has been very solid in terms of how it has been designed, in terms of how it has been used. And it has really, really evolved. So right now, Excel, what we can say it is a digitization tool. But as we move forward, you can see Microsoft, they have introduced Copilot in some of all of their tools. So Copilot is more of an AI tool that they are trying to integrate. So meaning they are trying to move this to automation. Okay, to automation. And there are other tools that are put in place for purposes of automation. Okay, so that is just brief. Why then advanced Excel techniques? Because and I've seen so many institutions training Excel. I've worked with other institutions, other colleges, other universities where we were training these tools, Excel. Actually, I've trained the international modules, the ICDL, as a certified trainer and also as a certified examiner. And when you say advanced Excel, what comes into people's mind is, you want to do tough stuff, but that is not the case. Advanced Excel is all about using the tools and the techniques differently. So there are other tools that are not being explored. There are so many problems, okay, that we face on a day-to-day basis when it comes to analysis and reporting that we don't really take advantage of. So you find somebody will stay the whole day working on one report. The whole day they're trying to balance off accounts. They're trying to look at where was that last balance in the bank statement. Where was it? I mean, an entire day. You see, somebody is taking overtime just to try to crunch the numbers. So there are basic tools that are used, that are there, and they are the advanced tools. The reason as to why we have the advanced and the basic tools, if you look at the Microsoft curriculum, because I've trained these, the international ones, so there's a way they have grouped certain tools to term them as intermediate or basic, and there are those tools, they call them advanced spreadsheets, which are more advanced, meaning they are able to do more items in terms of application. Okay. So as I was saying, sometimes I've seen so many institutions, they're saying we are training advanced Excel, but if you look at the content, it's very much watered down. I remember when I was doing the teaching now, when I was teaching Excel, we used to lecture with PowerPoint and all that. But since I moved into corporate training, no, corporates don't need the lectures. They want something they can apply immediately, and that is the focus. And that's why I have these webinars, so that we can see how do we learn a skill today and apply it tomorrow, or even the same day. Okay, you have materials, then you're able to apply. So these advanced Excel techniques, they are popular because of the inadequate use of what? Of the Excel tool. And I want to take you through slowly by slowly so that you can be able to see them. Something else. So comparing again. Now, 84, 90s there, Excel, actually up to 1997 thereabout. Excel was seen more of a mathematical tool. I had a joke somewhere that there are those people who are still using Excel as a mathematical tool, just to add items. So Excel has moved from there. Yes, you can do additions with it, but right now it is more of an analytical tool. And it also has the capability of storage. If you look at the Excel version, there are two files in Excel. There is the older version, which could store about 60,000 records. And there are new versions of Excel. They're able to store even up to 1 million records. So you see, 1 million records, that is a large data set. We can categorize it as a large data set. So meaning Excel has already qualified to be a what? A data storage tool. So you can store, you can analyze, you can visualize, you can model, and actually you're going to see how to model the data in Excel. You can model the data. This is an amazing tool. Most tools don't do that. For example, Power BI is very powerful. It's very powerful. It can do almost the same things that Excel can do, but Excel is powerful when it comes to the functions. Okay, and actually Excel can do everything Power BI can do. But we are going to see why is it that you need to learn Excel, then you learn Power BI, and not the other way around. Don't start with Power BI then Excel. No, Excel then Power BI, because you need to connect them. Okay. So anyway, so Excel has moved from being a mathematical tool, and now it is more of a data analysis tool. Okay. In terms of visualization, there I might beg to differ. Excel, yes, it is good with the dashboards, but if you have explored Power BI, it is interesting. How you can visualize data with Power BI, interesting. How you can collaborate and share, that is where the Power BI wins in terms of visualizing and reports. So what are some of the, let me start with Excel. What are some of the current maybe advancement in Excel? So we have so many things that have come up, especially with Excel version 2021. And right now we have Excel version 2024. That is now the desktop application, the one that we install on the desktop, that we install on the desktop. We call them desktop applications. There is so much that they have packed in. If you look at, because I do so many projects with other companies, especially on data transformation and cleaning, if you look at some of the tools they have brought in, they have really made work very, very, very easy. And those are some of the tools. Something like XLOOKUP, I'm going to talk about it. It's a very interesting function. So, one, the platform is now more friendly. Okay, if you look at the new versions 2021, 2024, or Office 365, Excel 365, the interface is a bit more friendly if you compare that with Excel 2020. Okay, there are new functions, new Excel functions, for example, the XLOOKUP sequence functions, LET functions. If you talk about defining variables, the LET functions. Okay, so and you see, functions are very key, by the way, when it comes to data manipulation. Looking for data in a data set. Okay, and then something else is this integration of the Power Tools. I don't know if you've heard of the Power Tools. Power Tools, we have Power Query, we have Power Pivot. Yes, Power Pivot. I think somebody has texted on the chat and said, don't forget don't forget pivot tables. But you see, pivot tables are just but simple analysis tools. But when you talk now about the advanced application of pivot tables, we have what we call the Power Pivot. So Power Pivot is the data modeling tool that we're going to look at, which is very interesting when it comes to modeling data. Okay, modeling data sets. So Power Tools, and then we have the Power Query. We used to have the Power View. So we used to have Power Query for cleaning data, Power Query for cleaning data, then Power Pivot, so that now you can model data and visualize the data either through pivot tables or pivot charts. And then you used to have Power View. Power View now was for the visualization. But it was, I think, in 2017 when Power BI was now being launched, because Power BI was launched in 2014. I remember I started using Power BI in 2020 during COVID there. So by 2014, it was just a tool they had launched. By 2017, it was now becoming very popular. By 2020, it was already. I remember my first class, I did it in 2022. Now, a solid class. After they have at least released some materials. So Power View was removed from Excel as one of the Power Tools, and it was replaced by Power BI. Okay, so Power BI is an independent tool. The only problem is that Power BI, they make it, they've made it an organizational tool rather than an individual tool, which is still okay, because whether it is organizational or individual, provided you're able to access it, that is what is important. So they removed Power View in Excel, and they only retained Power Query and Power Pivot for analysis and modeling. So those are the Power Tools. Those are some of the key current developments that I think I can pinpoint. Something else now is the Power BI. So you can learn Power BI. For me, I call it advanced Power BI because if you learn only the basics of Power BI, there's a certain level that you're going to learn. Maybe just connecting data, then modeling data, then visualizing. So today, we do the basics of Power BI. I hope time will allow the basics of Power BI. That is the connecting. I think I've seen somebody saying, how do you connect? How do you clean? How do you model? How do you visualize? In simple, okay? But there's the advanced bit where you also work with the formulas. There's what we call data analysis expressions. We're going to do one. We have what we call measures, quick measures. All these are tools for analysis. There is the Power BI service where you create dashboards. You can also set automated, we call them paginated reports. So you see reports, sometimes you want them in like A4 sized reports with some write-ups and all that. So now that is the advanced bit of the Power BI. Okay. So in Power BI, in the late 2000 there, at the end of 2001 there, we have had a lot of, there's been a need to analyze data and to get insights from data. We call it business intelligence. So business intelligence is different from what we call data intelligence. So business intelligence is all about looking at the data that you currently have, so the historical data. Then from this data, you are able to draw insights. You're able to draw insights, you're able to draw recommendations like that. So that is business intelligence. So we collect data and then we maybe manipulate a bit and then we're able to draw insights. That is business intelligence. Actually, Power BI stands for business intelligence. And I've seen nowadays there are courses on business intelligence. What is business intelligence, types like that. So Power BI is a business intelligence tool. So meaning it relies on historical data, meaning there has to be data already collected. I think I've seen somebody talking about something to do with data collection. I think it was Tracy who mentioned something to do with data collection. So, so Power BI is very good with that. So in the end, in the close of 2000, there has been a need for business intelligence. That's why by 2017, Power BI came about. So, but my focus right now is the advancement of the tools and the techniques in Power BI. Okay. Again, Power BI is also a tool that people have not taken advantage of. I've seen other courses where you're told you learn Power BI in 2 days. Sometimes when you meet such things, just question. I mean, somebody has taken almost 10 years just to master Excel. It is not practical to go and somebody tells you in 1 day you become a pro. No. That is not factual. Okay? Yeah. So learning should take place in an organized way. And I'm going to talk about the proper way of learning as a trainer. Okay, as a trainer. So for Power BI, something that is different between Power BI and Excel is that Power BI has a more modern look and also feel, and then there are more tools. You see, for Excel, we have the Power Query and the Power Pivot, maybe some other add-ins, but those two are the popular ones. But for Power BI, there are more tools. Okay, there are more platforms to work with the data. There are more connectors. There are more applications. Actually, if you look at the definition of Power BI according to Microsoft Learn, they talk about it as a collection of connectors, applications, and tools. So it has a more modern feel. Even its tools, the way they work, it's more improved, it's more optimized. But that does not mean we ignore Excel. No. I mean, each and every tool has its own main purpose. Okay. So improved modern interface, more connectors, more applications. Because this is a business intelligence tool. Okay. To continue. So again, more integration of the tools and simplified. So you're able to connect to more varied tools as compared to Excel. Excel, in this case, we are saying it is more of data collection, data entry, data analysis, and a bit maybe of modeling. Then for Power BI, you can still do data analysis, but no data collection. So Power BI, you do not enter data. Unlike Excel, where you can create a very good template, automate it, put validation rules so that you control what is to be captured. Power BI, there's no such. So those are some of the differences that I want us to talk about as I move forward. So with Power BI, there is more integration of tools. So Power BI is like it connects to so many sources, and one of the major sources is Excel. And then the tools are more simplified, so it makes it work a bit easier. Okay. Let me make progress. So that is just, if you look at this slide, this is just comparing Excel and Power BI. So the other question is, where do we start? Okay, that is the question. Where do we start? Or where are we? We need to answer that question. Where do I start? Before you, of course, you say, where do you want to start? You also need to ask yourself, where are you currently in terms of skill set? Because remember, the title of the webinar is choosing the right next step. So we want to, by the time we are done with this webinar, you know what decision to take. You know if you're already competent in Excel or not. And if not, at what level do you need now to add more in terms of skill set? I mean, that is what we want to achieve at the end of this. So where do we start? Okay. So which skill set should we have? Okay. One, the most basic skills is where we use Excel like a calculator. I think I've already mentioned that. If you're still using Excel like a calculator, you're taking numbers here, you're adding, and that is it that you do, then you have not yet taken advantage of Excel. Okay, so those are the basics. Okay, you know how to open an Excel file, put in data into a cell, add or remove columns. That's it. Then the other level is the intermediate skills. And remember, this is now from my own experience and from the books that I've read and from training. This is now what I've come up with. So there's the intermediate Excel skills. So actually, intermediate Excel now, if you look at it as a standardized training content, so you realize it gives you the foundational skills. Okay, it gives you the foundational skills. It enlightens you about the terminologies that you're supposed to use. Okay, I think I've come across where somebody is trying to explain to you something about on Excel, and they tell you, you see that name where it is written. So they know what they're supposed to do, but they don't know the terminologies. Okay, or they don't know the process, or they don't know the name of the tool. Okay, so they're not able to recall the tool. So the whole idea of the intermediate level of Excel is to give you those standardized terminologies to help you do practice. For example, you work with functions. Okay, you work with the function dialog box, but you realize when you advance your Excel skills, you normally don't use the functions dialog box to create a function. You normally just put an equal sign and you write the function that you want to use. But the intermediate skill, at least it will introduce you to that. You'll be able to do practice and create a foundation. Okay. So this is ideal for somebody who has not been using. I've had somebody with 22 years of experience. Maybe this may not be for you, maybe advanced, or 10 years of experience in using Excel. Intermediate, not at all. This may not be for you, but and then I'll talk about why experience also matters when it comes to use of any digital tool. Then we have the advanced skills. I think I'd already mentioned that. So we have the same tools, but now you refine how you use them. Okay. For example, and there's somebody who asked me, how do you do reconciliation? I don't know who had asked on email. How do you do reconciliation, bank reconciliations? Using what tool would you use? And I know people have been using VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP, you can use it. Not VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is very old school. Actually, I don't know. I can't even remember the last time I used VLOOKUP. I think for the last 2-3 years. The moment I came across index and match in the year 2023, I stopped using VLOOKUP. 2024, actually 2024 already, I've already started using the XLOOKUP tool. So you can be able to do very good reconciliation, okay? Because remember, these are lookup functions. You can be able to do very good reconciliation using the lookup functions. For example, the XLOOKUP function. There's something we call multiple match lookup. Multiple match lookup. And I'm going to demonstrate it today. Multiple match lookup for purposes of reconciliation. There's somebody who had asked that, and I said I'll add it. Multiple match lookup. So you want to check if the date, the amount, and the reference number tally in your cash book and also in your bank statement. So how do you do that? How do you do that? And then you extract a report. Whatever you find that it is not tallying, maybe you investigate it further. Okay. So those are some of the advanced Excel skills. So these are refined. Sorry. So they are either refined tools or refined techniques that are used to solve practical problems. But if you get into an Excel class and you do not have practice materials that you can manipulate, that apply to the day-to-day, then that is not an advanced Excel class. Yeah, you should be able to have materials that you can actually manipulate, materials that fit the industry. Okay, there are common problems in the industry. I've solved problems for an insurance firm, for World Bank projects, for NGOs, private sector not that much, but public sector and also some ministries, and so there are those common problems you come across that you must learn in a class setup. So so what I'm doing is I'm showing us the levels of skill set, the levels of. So I'll say the first one is the basic. Then we talk about what the intermediate in terms of Excel. So Power BI is still way ahead. So number 4, after maybe you have refined your skills, so after advanced Excel skills, there's what I call do and discover. Do and discover skills. So do and discover is where you learn out of curiosity, you learn out of need. The only problem is that sometimes you don't get to have the terminologies right. So you hear somebody has been using Excel for 35 years. Okay, so meaning they have walked the journey with the tool, but because of curiosity, you're told, I want you to submit a report before end of tomorrow. So what do you do? We call it do and discover. You click things here, you click there, they backfire, you delete that file, you open another one. So you find yourself saving multiple files, different versions. I don't know if I'm speaking to someone. You have different versions of Excel with the same data. Then you try, they don't work. You delete that file, you try the tools, they work. What happens? You learn. So we call it do and discover. I know I'm speaking to many people. I've also been part of the do and discover team. There's a time where I was doing that a lot, but it helps. It really helps. Even when you get into a class, just be as curious as possible. Try to learn. Go to the YouTube platforms. See what people are saying. That is very key. The only problem is that with regards to understanding the correct standards and the correct terms, that is the only drawback. So the only thing you can do, over and above your curiosity, you add the structure. Add the structure over and above your curiosity. So of course, like for me, when I'm training, I try to ensure that I've used the standardized materials, either from Microsoft, so that even when you're learning, we are using a standardized approach. So that is number 4. Then number 5, now we can now talk about the automation skills. So this is level 5, automation skills. So with regards to automation, we can look at it at the local level, where we have where we have installed the application on our desktop, okay, locally. And because if you look at the way things are right now, people are so much using Office 365, and of course this is a cloud-based application. So again, there's automation for cloud-based applications. Okay, so we have the local files, and of course we have the online files. So how do you automate these? So for the local files, we've been using the Visual Basic macros. If you've heard the term macros or Visual Basic, if you look at one popular file that we use for returns, this is IT2 file. Normally it has a lot of VBA macro. So when you download that file from the tax platform. It normally says what? VBA, and macro-enabled file. So these are the coding that have been put there to automate it, but it works for the desktop, okay? For the desktop application, that is VBA, okay? That is for the local files. Then Microsoft, they have realized, because there's that need for automating online or cloud-based files, so they came up with a language. We call it TypeScript. So it's more like VBA but for online. So right now, like I have a class called Automating Office Application. So Automating Office Application, we train VBA and TypeScript, and now the other automation items. And there's also what we call Power Automate. Again, this is on cloud. Because you want, maybe after you've done your report, automatically it sends maybe an email to a certain email. Okay, so you can automate such things. So once you've done advanced Excel, you now go to automation. Now, if maybe automation is not what you want, it depends with the flow of data in organization and also the model in organization, the working model in the organization. So maybe sometimes you find you can skip the automation bit of it, and then now you go to business intelligence. Okay, you go to now the Power BI. Okay, so the Power BI, as you're going to see, once you have cleaned the data, you have worked with the data, manipulated using Excel, then we use the Power BI. Yes, we are going to get to the practical session bit of it. Yes. So we are talking about this so that now whatever we've talked about, I'll share a link. You download some files. We do whatever we have talked about in practice. So for the Power BI now, this is the 6th level, where now Power BI as a business intelligence tool, you can work with local applications or connectors, and then there are what we call them online applications. We call them Power BI service, and of course we have the Power BI mobile. So I'm going to talk about them as we manipulate the file, and then so in Power BI, both in Excel and Power BI, is what we call the Power Query, the Power Pivot, and so the Power Query and the Power Pivot. So Power Query is the most popular for data cleaning. So we are going to see how to use that in Excel and how to use it in Power BI. Then as you do more practice, as you do and discover, you can be able to tell which one is easier. Is it to do it in Excel or to do it in Power BI? So you'll be able to discover that. And then there's what we call DAX. I'll try to do 1 or 2, 3 analysis expressions, and then both in Power BI and in Excel. So we'll do the same thing, but in different tools. So we just want to see the difference and the levels of application. Okay. So that is the 7th level, where you're using these now additional applications attached to either Excel or Power BI. Then the last level, so those are 7 levels. So I think that is it. So we have 7 levels. The number 8 is now where you work with specialized applications. So maybe you're having a database, an SQL database, or maybe you have accounting applications such as Tally. So how do you now integrate, or how do you work with such tools? But I hope now you've seen the levels. So we are talking about where do we start, or where are we? So now we need to know, where are we? Are we in level 1, where you're using Excel as a calculator? Are we in level 7? Have we already mastered automation? Now we're just now talking about visualization and the intelligence. Or are we in level 2 at intermediate level? So where are you? Where are you right now? Okay. And then where do we start? Okay. So where do you start? That question is now what I want us to answer. Okay. I hope we have answered the question. Where do we start? we have looked at the different levels, right? So right now, right now we don't know maybe where to start or where we are. We've seen the different levels, but to be sure where to start, we need to find out where we are, right? And how do we do that? So by going to the practical session. So I've divided this into two parts: the theoretical bit and the practical bit. It is good at least we have some knowledge, theory kidogo, so that now when we get into practice, we have reduced the questions. So at level 8, now you are now starting to integrate other applications, SQL, servers. We have the likes of metaverse. You start understanding those databases at that level. Okay, good. So I think that is what I wanted to do. Up to there, let me see if I have something else. So now the next phase is practical demonstration of the tools and techniques in Excel and Power BI. But allow me, as I take a break, I give Tally. We've said we have specialized applications such as Tally. I just give them 20 minutes as I take a break. They talk about their tools and how they can be integrated. I've used Tally before. I think by then I was using Tally Gold. So it's a very good application, especially now that we have so many accountants here. It's a good application. Maybe you can look at it. They have also added, there's a way I think you can integrate with WhatsApp. They have added some interesting things. So as I take about 10 to 20 minutes break, before now we start the practice, I would like just to give Tracy, you say something about that. I'm not going to give other trainers or the other experts, I don't know if they're here, an opportunity, because I want us to go directly into the application, so that in the interest of time, so that we take about an hour after Tracy's presentation. We take about 1 hour 30 minutes. That is from 4 up to 5:30 there. We do the practice. We do the practice. So I'm just trying to lay out expectations. So we still have things to do. Good. So Tracy, if you're in a position, you can do something as I take a break. I hope it has been useful. Please share questions if you have anything. Share so that I can be able to answer. Okay. Thank you, Teresa. You think that was very useful step. Yes. Thank you. So let us now validate where we are. Okay? So Tracy, I don't know if you're there.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Welcome.
Okay. So, as I mentioned here at Tally now, we work closely with professionals now that rely on Excel and Power BI tools for reporting and data visualization. So I'm just going to share a PowerPoint here for presentation. Yes, I hope everyone can see it.
Yes, you can see.
Okay. So Tally Prime is a business management software for those people who have not come across it. It incorporates accounting. It has automated the whole accounting process. So we've been able to you can work with different tools, also using Tally such as Excel and Power BI, because since most of our reports in Tally, you can be able to feed Tally the data, make your transactions, and then you can have the reports on Tally in Excel. You can export to Excel or import your bank statements in Tally and then reconcile the bank statements. So now, from my experience working with accountants, there is a common pattern. Like, we spend most of our time cleaning the data, and by cleaning the data, I mean, yes, I don't mean like the data in Excel is not reliable, it is. But now when it comes to businesses, let's say an auditor, you go to a certain company and you'll find them using Excel and they have all that data. Now you don't know if there was some people who altered or anything. So the process of cleaning the data, it becomes so complex. Okay, rebuilding reports takes months. So by the time that report is ready, then you're on to another deadline. You have bank statements to reconcile. It takes hours to reconcile such statements. Now that is the real value of an accountant today, and those are the kind of challenges that we try to fix using the system that we have now, Tally. Okay, so Excel is a very good tool, a very flexible one. I've used it a lot for data analysis and everything. Also, Power BI, it has very good dashboards and all that. But now, both of these tools, like Excel and Power BI, they depend on the quality of the data that you feed them. So if there is some discrepancies on the data that you're using, you'll not get reliable reports. You'll get very inconsistent ones that you cannot even rely on them. So now, when you're using such tools, you have to heavily rely on data cleaning. Data has to be verified, because if it's not the right thing, that means now your dashboards, whatever you're creating, it's not something that is going to be valuable. So that's where now we shift our mindset from analyzing the data to where is this data coming from and how reliable is that data, because that's the foundation of getting the real insights. Now that is where now we come in as Tally. Okay. So now Tally, when you use Tally, because from accounting, from passing transactions, managing your charts of accounts and everything, and generating reports, all those details you get from the system. And it is a very good system because when you're passing those transactions and there was some maybe errors that you made, you can be always verify the data using some features in the system. Go back to those transactions that had those discrepancies, and you'll be able to verify whether it's true or not. In a case where you meet firms, they have so many transactions that happen in a day. There are so many people that are dealing with the accounts of those businesses. So you don't even know if there is someone who altered some certain transactions or passed a wrong transaction. You cannot even be able to tell which is where or who did what. Now, that's where now Tally comes in. It captures transactions in real time and maintain very structured and consistent reports. So after now you get such reporting, you use Tally, it has good data. You can be able to get data your reports, and then you can be able to export them in Excel. So if there were some changes that you wanted to make, or some just data visualization or formulas that you wanted to add to the reports, you can just export them from the system to Excel. So those are the new trends that are coming in to simplify accounting process. For example, the bank reconciliation. As we were saying, for bank reconciliation now, yes, there are tools that are used to do that, and they are very reliable. I can say they are not, but still, for you to get exact transactions now. So let's say you are using Tally and you have exact transactions that are in your books of accounts. So as Tally, we have automated the whole process of bank reconciliation, a process that you guys do with maybe hours or days. It's something that you do with very few hours using the system. We partner with banks. We have partnered with banks. They give us their bank statement formats, and that is what we use in Tally. You import their bank statements without altering anything, and now the system automates the rest. It gives you the exact matches, the potential matches, and you're able to simplify that process. So that's how us Tally now come to working with such tools as Excel or Power BI. For dashboards, it has a very good dashboard for reporting. And again, such dashboards still, you can be able to export them to Excel or any other tools that you use for analysis. So What does that mean? So if you get to use Tally, you're sure that you're going to get faster reporting cycles. You get more confidence in your numbers because this data is data that is verifiable. It has been cleaned. You get better and quicker decision making. And most importantly, it positions you as an accountant, as a strategic partner, not just a report preparer, no. So because the data is reliable, so you're able to answer such questions like, what is this report telling us? Where is our money going? Where can we improve on in terms of our business performances? That's the kind of insights that are by using the system and the tools that you be using together, it gives you. So, and this is where we believe as the profession now, clients and businesses are no longer just looking for reports. They're looking for insights. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for value. Because you can imagine now, you're managing different companies. And as you can see now, let's say you as an accountant, you have like 3 companies, you're managing their books. You have to give insights to this company, to that company. You have to guide these ones. You have to give value using the reports that you're giving them. So you can imagine having managing all those books, and specific clients, they have their needs. Again, that's why we come in as Tally. You use the system, you manage all those books in one license. So that means you have a clear understanding, you have a clear way of managing your books. So because one thing about Tally, just in one system, you can manage up to 10,000 companies in one system. And by combining all that now, you as an accountant, your life becomes easier. Okay. So what we do now is Tally now, I'm not taking too much time. That's why I'm trying to at least pass over few things. So what we do, we partner with accountants because you guys are the people that use our systems more. Yes, some of the businesses, not some, most of the businesses use Tally, yes, but you as an accountant, you are the first person who, these are the people that use our systems more than any other person. So what we do, we partner with you as accountants. We give you a tool that simplifies your work. Then you interact with the system. If you feel it's something that adds value to your business, you have clients, you have your businesses that you manage books for them. So what you do, you can also suggest them to use Tally, so that maybe when they're using Tally and you yourself you know how to use Tally, now the reporting and managing their books becomes easier because you can just be pulling their reports from the system that they're using and you can analyze it. Okay, so that's what I mean by we work closely with accountants. We give them the tool, but we give them at discounted prices. That is the system now from the ones that we give the businesses. There is the prices that we give the businesses, our software, but for accountants, it's so much discounted. So in that case, what as the tool, we partner with you as a business. You become our partner, you become our recommending partner. You like present our system to clients that you have so that you can show the benefit of using such systems. And then by that's like a referral system. It is commission based and you get to earn. That's the kind of partnering that we have. So no heavy lifting is needed. You just need to identify the customer and then we do the rest. We give them the demos, we show them how the system works, how they can manage their books using the system. And then from there now, because maybe you or any other person who is managing the accounts, they can just, if you have a license yourself, you can just be pulling their reports, seeing whatever they are doing, and life becomes easier. Yes. So apart from that now, we have a program that is designed to bring accountants together in Tally. We've partnered with a lot of businesses that are here in Kenya that are using our system, and some are not using. We've created a program for them so that we can bring the accountants together. this program, they are able to communicate, like if there are some new things, new technology that has come up, you can share your ideas there. So this program is called Account Tech Enthusiast. You can see it. If let me try to hide this. Okay. Yes. So if you can be able to join, you'll see. Yes, you will get to meet a lot of accountants there. You can engage with them. Sometimes we even hold breakfast meetings. You come together. We talk about challenges that accountants are facing out here, and then maybe if there's some, you get insights from other accountants of maybe what they do in their businesses that maybe you yourself you were facing as a challenge. So maybe if the accountants in this meeting, if you would want to be part of such a program, you can just scan the QR code. I think I can zoom it, or you can scan it. I think it is. Let me zoom it a little bit like that. Yes, you can scan it, and then it will direct you to a page where you can just sign in, and then you'll be just part of that community. It's an accountants community, but it is designed by Tally. Yeah. So from there, maybe I can just talk about the partnership. So what you do, you become our partner, as I said. You recommend clients to us, maybe the businesses that you have, you're managing their books, and then from there now we can have the proper arrangements with our company. So you out there, we look forward to connecting with you, working with you, and then if you'd want to see a detailed demonstration of how our system works, just feel free to reach out to us. This is my contact, or Simon, yeah, he can be able to do that. We can show you a detailed demonstration of how accounting is in Tally, from accounting, bank reconciliation, inventory management, and so many things, because it's an all-in-one system. Yeah, I think by that I've covered most of the things that you want to talk about, and then I can just give it back to Simon.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that was a good presentation. I think one of the things that I've picked is control and validation. Control and validation. I think those are the two things these specialty programs they do. I know there are so many others that are there. There are point of sale systems. There are so many, but you see, like Tally for accounting, especially for accounting management. So now you pull in the data from there. Data is already validated, is already, you're able to control, everybody has their accounts. So you can always get data from there and do the analysis. So specialized applications, I think that is key. Good. So I don't know if there's a question. Is there any question before we can move now to the second and the last session, which is now the practical bit of it? So whatever we've covered, those 8 steps, we have seen the different levels where we can start, but we need to acknowledge where we are. Okay, we have seen we have from level 1 to level 8. Level 8, the specialized ones. So before we even go to level 8, we first of all need to know where we are, so that before you start, to validate where to start. Good. Any question that you may have? Any question? So make sure if you have a question or concern, just have it on the chat box, and then we can be able to look at it after. Okay. Good. So let us go to the next phase, which is practical demonstration. Yes. Practical demonstration of the tools and the techniques. Good. So I'm going to use very simplified data sets for this particular session. So I'm going to take about 1 hour, 30 minutes for this. So remember, the webinar was about 2 hours, from 2:30 to to 4:30. So we just have another 1 hour so that we can look at these. Yeah, I know people get bored with these, a lot of theory. So let us move to these. So I'm going to share a link. Let me share a link on the chat box so that we can now be able to work on this. So I'm going to share a link. Let me see. So, sorry, I think that is it. So one, I'm going to share 4 data sets. Let me get the link. I think Blackstone, you can share the link if you just see where it is. So with this link, download those files. Oh, here I have it. So check on the chat box. Check the chat box. Have you been able to? Okay, so I think it has also been shared. So once you click on that link, so let me stop sharing this so that now we look at the practical bit. The big screen. Okay, good. So if you click on the link, it will take you to these. Let me just share. So are you able to see? So click on the link. You'll have dataset 1, dataset 2, and dataset 5. Dataset 1, dataset 2, and dataset 5. Are we there? Dataset 1, 2, and 5. Download. So the best way, don't double click on the file. Don't double click on the file. Where you have these 3 dots, click on those 3 dots and then click on download. Click on the 3 dots, then click on download. So download all the files, the 4 of them. Download all the files, the 4 of them. Are we there? Or you can also take notes, and then you can always download them later. So once you download all the files, so you click on the 3 dots. If you double click, the Excel file will open using Google Sheets, which is again a very different tool. So it might give you different formulas and different applications. So just download first, save it on your desktop, and so the material. So you'll have something like that. So on my side, I will download it, dataset 1, dataset 2, dataset 5, and then the last file is called the X lookup file. Now, I'm just to start with the X lookup. I think this is one function. This is something that I would really want to talk about. I think it was one of the requests where somebody said they would want to know more about reconciliation. I remember I had talked about the new tools that are there. So let me start with this one. Let us start with the X lookup. Okay. So open, if you are following through, so open the X lookup file. Okay. I hope we are together. So I'm using a very simple data set, a very small data set. Remember today I want to give us tips on what we need to do, some tips, and then what we already know. Okay. So when you talk about functions, functions are important. Functions, formulas are very important. But how you nest functions, there's something we call nesting of functions. Okay. Nesting of functions, and intermediate Excel, you're normally introduced to nesting of functions. In advanced Excel, you move to the complex nesting of functions. Okay, maybe you want to prepare a donor report. There are some complex functions that you're going to nest. Nesting is simply combining more than 1 or 2 functions. Okay. So at advanced level, we talk about complex nesting of functions. So whatever we're going to do today is a bit moderate, just an introduction to how to nest functions. So that we can know, do you already know this? Can we now go to the complex nesting like that? So when we talk about functions and formulas, a formula is just an expression. Okay? It can be mathematical or not mathematical. So we normally say a formula or a function. These are expressions with arguments, okay, that have arguments, that have logical operators, and they give us a definite outcome, okay? So when you want to define a formula is an expression with the logical operators. The logical operators are the equal sign, the greater than sign, the less than sign, the not sign, and then they have what? Arguments. Okay, and these expressions, they will give us a desired outcome. So that is a formula, an expression with what? With logic operators and arguments to give us a desired outcome. Then a function is a formula, but with a predefined command. Remember, we want to nest functions. So a function is a formula. And that's why under the formulas tab, if you look at the formulas tab on your ribbon, the function library group, we have the different categories of functions. Okay? So we have so many functions, logical, text, date, time, like that. For this masterclass, because somebody had asked something on reconciliation, so one of the most powerful tool is or function is the XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP is a lookup and a reference function. So it falls under lookup and a reference function. Actually, 2021 version, this is one of the revolutionary function. And you can see it is here. Is it XLOOKUP? XLOOKUP, you also have the XMatch. Okay, so if you're doing index match, if you already have an idea of how index match works, then you still have what? Match, and you still have index. So match, the upgrade is XMatch. And then for the lookup, or the VLOOKUP, all the lookups, the upgrade is the XLOOKUP. Okay, so it is a revolutionary function. Why? Let us see why. So one of the reasons is that it has 6 arguments. It has 6 arguments. And let us see how that can help us. Remember, lookup functions, they help us to search for data. Okay, they help us to search for data. And if we search for the data and it is not there, then now we can take action. So if it is reconciliation you're doing, you want to compare this statement and another statement, maybe it is 2 reports for last month and report for this month, you want to compare, then you can use the XLOOKUP. So the most basic, and the first thing that you need to understand with the lookup function is, or any lookup function, is to understand your data set, or simply to understand your data. First, is your data organized as a data set? Okay. I know there's so much. For example, what is a data set? It's different from data. When you just say this is data, it's different from when you say a data set. So let me call it a data range, because a range of data is like this, from cell B2 to F2. Okay, from cell B2 to F2. This is a data range. It's a range of data. So we cannot justify that this is a data set first. Okay, so it's a range of data. Now, when you're working with lookup functions, the first and the most important thing is to understand where you are getting your data, the data range. So if you have a perfectly organized data range, you now call it a data set. So of course there are features of a data set. So you see, if I select from B2 to F10, okay, I've selected B2 to F10. How many columns do I have in my range of selection? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 columns, and I have how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 rows. Okay, that is when I'm selecting B2 to F10. If I select C3 to E9, my range of selection has 3 columns and then has how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So the range of selection is very important when you're working with any lookup function, whether it is VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, any lookup function. You have, first of all, to understand what you've selected. Okay, we call it range of selection. Okay, I hope that is clear. If I select like this, that means I've selected from B3 to B10. I have 1 column and how many rows? 8 rows. Okay, if I select the entire column, I have, in my range of selection, it will be 1 column and all the 1 million rows. Okay, so the range of selection is very important. Sometimes we call it the return array, okay, or the lookup array. So let us see. Now, in this data set, we have Jenny. Okay, we want to look for the word, we want to search for Jenny. Okay, here is Jenny, and we want to see how much sales Jenny got. So because our data set is small, remember it is for demonstration. We have Jenny. I think this one I need to, because this is an extraction, this is supposed to be this is B, not N. This is B, so you can change that one. B3 to B10, and then we want to return E3, E10. So we want to match B3 to B10, and then so we want to search here from B3 to B10, and then when we find Jenny, we return from E3 to E10. So XLOOKUP is the most simplest, and this is how you do it. You just put an equal sign. So remember, if you're already at the advanced level, you don't use the function dialog box. You normally type the formula as it is. So you type equal sign XLOOKUP. If it is already there, you select it, you press on the tab key so that it completes the function. And then how many arguments do we have here? How many arguments? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 arguments. The first one is the lookup value. The second argument is the lookup array, and the last argument is the search mode. So for the XLOOKUP, you can work with partial number of. You can work with at least 3 arguments. Okay, so the first one is lookup value. So we refer to cell I4. So this is cell referencing. So we refer to cell I4. So we put a comma so that we can move to the next argument, which is the lookup array. So the lookup array is in our range. Where are we getting the data? So in our case here, it is B3 to B10. So we select B3 to B10 like that. So that is our second argument, comma. Yes, a question? Yes, this is recorded. So B3 to B10, that is our lookup array. Then where do we return? We are going to return E3 to E10. E3 to E10. So those are the first 3 arguments in XLOOKUP. But remember, and that is the beauty of XLOOKUP, these last 3 arguments were not there. Okay? Actually, in my full class, I show you how the index and match used to be deficient. And that's where now XLOOKUP took over. So, but as at now, with the way this is, we can now just close the bracket with those 3 arguments. And when you tap enter, it will return what? 9,000. And you can see Jenny, the sales was 9,000. But important, if you look at the lookup array, I've selected B3 to B10. The return array E3 to E10, they are of the same height. That is important. They are of the same height. Same row number 3, and they all end at row number 10. So that is important. Remember how that is how lookups work. They have to be of the same height. So that is the simplest application of the XLOOKUP. Okay, and then unlike something like VLOOKUP, remember, it is limited. VLOOKUP will always look at it will always consider the first column that is selected for search. For XLOOKUP, you can select any cell, any column within your data set for the purposes of lookup. So if I tap enter, we can see we are able to return the 9,000. Okay, so that is that. What about how do you deal with missing records? So that is the first application. What about missing records? Missing records. Let me. So how do we talk about missing records? I didn't want this to disappear. So let me use the freeze panes. I hope you know how to use the freeze panes. Remember, we want to know what we know. We are trying to establish what we already know. So I think I can distort. But anyway, let us just do it the way it is. This is our data set. Remember, the data set sometimes is in a different worksheet or workbook. So missing records. So you see, Jeremy is not part of our data set. Okay, we have John, Jane, Jenny, James, Jack, but Jeremy is not there. So when you have searched, and I think these ranges, let me just use B3 to B10 again. So if you have searched for Jeremy, and remember your data set can have 1 million rows. If you have searched for Jeremy and you've not found it, what do you want to return? So most of the time, the lookup functions will return NA. They will return the value. So the error, NA, the NA error. Okay. So XLOOKUP has been redesigned so that instead of returning NA, you can customize. You can customize what to be done. So when you go to advanced nesting of function, so for example, if we are searching for Jeremy, I'll say equals XLOOKUP, tab key to complete, lookup value I10, comma, the lookup array, we are searching here, that is the lookup array argument number 2, comma, the return array is this one, E3 to E10. So if I tap enter, look at what will happen. It will give us the NA error value, okay? So what XLOOKUP they have done is to add, if I remove the closing bracket or parentheses and I put another comma, you will see the fourth argument is what? If not found. And that is the beauty of XLOOKUP. If not found, previously we used to nest index match. We nest index match in if NA function. Okay, but then now this has been simplified. So if you search for Jeremy and it is not found, you can return a text and say missing entry, like that. That would be your whatever is going to be returned. Or you can actually nest another XLOOKUP here function, like that, to go and search in another document and see if Jeremy is found in that document. So that is the dynamism of the XLOOKUP. So for now, let us just say missing record or missing entry. Okay, but remember we can nest a function, an entire function here, maybe to go and search in another worksheet or workbook and check if Jeremy exists in the other side. Okay, so for now, let us just return a text. Remember, you have to put the opening and closing speech mark, then you put a comma. Then if you do not want to talk about any other, so we have done up to the fourth argument. So if you do not want to continue the other, you close the bracket like that. So if I tap enter, I get missing record. So Jeremy is not there. Okay, Jeremy is not there. So what will be returned is what? Missing record. Okay. Let us look at something else. Multiple match lookup. This one we call it multiple match. Let me add the word here, multiple match lookup. So what is multiple match lookup? And if you do a lot of reconciliation, maybe you've gotten data from a system or from other sources, and you want to compare these documents if they contain the same data, whether it is bank and cash or previous month report and this month report, and you want to just compare if the data is there, you can be able to match more than one item. Okay. For example, look at this. Let us look at our data. Let us look at our data. And we look at John. So John, in our record, we have John who is 25 years of age. And his score was 100. He made sales of about 8,000 and the commission 960. Then there's another John, who is John Doe, who is 36. Made 5,000 in terms of sales and then 600 commission. Then there's another John who is 30, okay, score 45, and the commission 720. So you see, you have a number of people named John. But other than their names being John, another specific detail about this person is that they have different ages. So for example, I'm saying I'm looking for the results or the commission for somebody named John who is 30 years. Okay, I'm looking for John who is 30. What commission did he get? Okay, and maybe if we had a column for date, we could have said we want John who is 30. You know, we might have John who is 30 where there are many transactions. So John who is 30, okay, and maybe on a specific date. But here we have two things. We're just looking for the John who is 30 years. We have other John, the other one who is 25. So that is what we call multiple match lookup. Multiple match lookup. And for any kind of reconciliation, these are very powerful tools. So this is how you do a multiple match lookup. Yes, a question? So let me just wind up, and then after this, you can shoot out a question. So for the multiple match lookup, so this is how you go about it. And I hope you can be able to see my screen so that I don't move faster. So you just put an equal sign, X lookup. Oh, and before I talk about that, all lookup functions, they will always start to search from the top going downwards. All of them, whether it is VLOOKUP, index match, even the XLOOKUP. When you search for an item, it will always start at the top. So if we select B3 to B10, it will always return the first John. Okay? So all lookup functions will always start at the top. Whether it is index, VLOOKUP, they will always start at the top. So XLOOKUP, like that. So the lookup value is which one? Is it John or 30? It is both John and 30. So we want to search for John, and at the same time, we want to search the John who is 30. Okay, so what do? We start with the first one. Sorry. So we start with the first one, which is John. So we call it cell referencing. So we refer to cell I16, and of course, you can absolute that cell. It's not, for this case, you don't need to absolute the cell. So you can remove the $sign. So we refer to cell I16, then we put an alpha sand, and then refer to cell I17, like that. So when you have multiple match lookup, you use the alpha sand. The alpha sand can be used to concatenate, by the way. Okay, so you're searching for I16 and I17, comma. What about the lookup array? So since you're looking for two items, then you need to look in two arrays. Okay, one is where the names are, and the next one is where the ages are. So in this case, let's scroll here. So here we select like that, B3 to B10. I hope you can look at the formula bar. And on the formula bar here, B3 to B10. So that is the second argument. So second argument will be B3 to B10 and C3 to C10. Okay, and C3 to C10. Let us look at it on like this. So it will be I16 and I17, comma, that is the first argument. Then B3 to B10 and C3 to C10, that is the lookup array, comma. And then what will be the return array? The commission. We are looking for, we want to return the commission for somebody who is 30. Commissions are here. Up to there. F3 to F10. Okay. Then we close the bracket. I think at an expert level or at an advanced level, you follow the formula bar. You follow the formula. So you can be working on multiple worksheets, but you're just following the formula bar. So here we close the bracket. I hope you're looking at the formula bar, and then you tap enter. It will give you what? 720. So if you look at a small data set, John, who is 30, so the first John, 25. The second John, 30. So the John who is 30, he had a commission of 720. Okay, so that is what we call the multiple match lookup, and you can look up for many things. You can search for many things. For example, where is it? So here, if you wanted to search John, who is age 30, of a specific date, then you just need to add another item here, so that now your lookup value will have 3 items concatenated by the alpha sand. Okay, so it will be I6 and I7 and now the specific date. And then the lookup array here, it will be comprised of 3 what? Of 3 ranges. Okay, of 3 ranges. Okay, so that is what we call the multiple match lookup. I hope we are together up to there. If you have a question, you can put it there. The other one is what we call the multiple direction lookup. The multiple direction lookup. So let us go back to our data set. So here, so we have been searching going downwards. We've been searching for the names. So we either search for the name and the age. So we've been moving downwards. So XLOOKUP can allow us to either move upwards or downwards and also sideways. Okay, so we can move also sideways. So meaning we can be talking about the age, the score, the sales, and the commission. So we can match the names and also match these titles. And whatever we get, for example, I want the salesperson called John, who was 25. Okay, I want to know their commission. Again, I would want to make it dynamic so that I can switch between commission and sales and also score. Okay, so that dynamism of shifting between age, score, sales, and commission and the names is now what we call multiple direction lookup. Multiple direction lookup. So let us see how that works when you're using XLOOKUP. Okay? So in this case, what I'm going to do, so this is the name. Let me move this one here to the side. Like that. So that here I can put age. Yeah, I think I can put age here. So that anytime I want to change this from age to score, I can see the score for James. If I change it to commission, I can see the commission for James. So how do you do that? So at this point, you need to nest the function. So you'll say equals XLOOKUP, tab key to complete. So this time, the first item we're looking for is James. So we are looking for James. Remember, we're also looking for age. But let us start with James. That is the lookup value, I21, comma. The lookup array, where do you find the names? So the names are found here from B3 to B10, comma, and then the third argument is what? The return array. So the return array, we want a situation, because if we just wanted the age, the return array would have been what? Would have just been like this. That would have been the return array. But right now we want to make it dynamic so that if we change here cell H22, if we change cell H22 to score, then this one changes. So we cannot specifically refer to C3 to C10 or D3 to D10. No, we need to make it dynamic. So what do we do? We nest. So now this is now what I call nesting. We nest another function, which is the X lookup. We nest another X lookup here. So this X lookup will help us now to check the items of the column. Okay. So the lookup value will be H22, comma, and then what will be the lookup array? What will be the lookup array, which is the second argument in the nested function? Then it will be this one, from C2 to F2, C2 to F2. Okay, C2 to F2, comma, and what will be the return array? So the return array would be now from C3 all the way to F10. C3 all the way to F10. Okay, and then what do? We close the bracket. So we close the bracket for the first X lookup, sorry, for the second X lookup, the one that we've nested. Then we put another closing bracket for the first X lookup. Then if you tap enter, it gives us 10. So if you look at the age of James, is 10. If I change here to score, it changes. If I change to sales, it changes. Okay, it changes. Okay, so that is what we call the multi-direction lookup, where you take one X lookup and you nest the other X lookup. You nest with another X lookup so that it creates a very dynamic lookup item. Good. Then the second last one is last to first match lookup. Last to first match lookup. Okay. So let us look at John again. This is John. Let me change this one to James. Let me see. Last. Yeah. Let us stick with John. Let's stick with John. So you can see here, if you look at our data set, allow me to go back to our data set. The first entry where it was John, it is in row number 3. Then we have John again, which is the last entry, row number 10. Now, because we had said all lookup functions, they will search from the top going downwards. So if right now, if I was to use X lookup and search for John, maybe I want to know the sales for John, it will always return the 8,000. Okay, let us see it. If right now, here, I use X lookup, I search for John, I want to return the sales, comma, the lookup array here, comma, and then the return here, and then I put a closing bracket and tap enter. It will return 8,000. What is 8,000? Which John is that one? It is the first John, this one. It is the first John. But you see in our data set, we still have another John, which is 6,000. So why does it not pick this last John? Because ideally that's how lookup functions were designed to always check the first entry. Okay, but now if you look at the X lookup, they have redesigned it. They have rethinked it. They have added an argument where you can set for the search to start from the last or from the below going upwards. So instead of searching John, if this is my selection, instead of searching from the top going downwards, it will start from here downwards going upwards. Okay. Let us see how does that happen. So which argument is it? So you see the lookup value is I26, lookup array B3 to B10, then return array E3 to E10. The next argument is supposed to be if not found. Maybe right now we do not want to consider if not found. We want in case there is it is not found, let it return the error. So what we'll do, we'll skip that argument by putting another comma. And then the next argument is the match. We call it the match mode. So the match mode, there are four. The other functions, they used to have three. The likes of match function used to have the three, because the X lookup is like it was added the match function. So it used to have three. You could only get an exact match, and then exact match or near the smaller item, or exact match near the larger item. Right now they have added the wildcard match character, which we are going to do as the last item. So in this case, by default, even if you have not put in the fifth argument, which is the match mode, by default it will take the what? The exact match. So we can decide to put a 0, or we can just skip with a comma so that we can move to the next argument. So the next argument is now what we want to talk about, which is the search mode. So by default here, whether you put one or not put one, it will always search from the first item to the last item. But you can see -1. If you put -1, it will search from the last item to the first item. And there are others. Binary search, that is where data is sorted in ascending order. Or binary search when data is sorted in descending order. Okay, so this is where you sort the data. So it also has the features of the likes of the VLOOKUP. For VLOOKUP, you have to organize the data. You have to sort the data before you perform the lookup. Otherwise, it will not give you the correct results. And you see now that process of sorting, that is when you bring the errors. Okay, so in our case here, we want what? The -1, search last to first. So -1, and then we close the bracket, and then we tap enter. So it will return the John where the sale was 6,000. You see the last John is 6,000. Okay, so it will start from the below. It will start from the below because we have set the match mode to be negative, -1. Okay, the last one is what you call now the wildcard character match lookup. The wildcard character match lookup. So wildcard characters normally combine. So wildcard characters, there are three. There are three characters. We normally have the asterisk, the question mark, and the tilde. And the tilde. Okay. So these are the three wildcard characters. So, and of course, they perform magic when you know how to use them. So I'm going to use the asterisk. But of course, asterisk will talk about items that contain question mark. Will talk about the specific number of characters. And then the tilde will cancel out the effect of the first two. Okay, that is in application. But these are the two characters other than the logical characters. So these are the wildcard characters. And of course, they're primarily meant for textual data, but here we can also use them in these functions. So let us see how we can use wildcard characters in XLOOKUP, because it has that provision in the fifth argument. So the fifth argument is which one? If that name does not come into your mind immediately, add or advanced, you need to do the advanced. You need to have used XLOOKUP so many times that you know the fifth argument is the match mode. Okay, so under the match mode we have four options, and the last option is the wildcard character match, and that is what I want us to do. So look at the instruction: last entry containing James. So we want to search for the last entry containing James. So here, if you look at James, we have James, and then we have James Doe. Okay, so we are not searching for James only. We are searching for an entry containing James. An entry containing James. And so James Doe is also part of our consideration. Okay, James Doe is also part of our consideration. So let us search. So in this sense, we want to search. This is what we want to retrieve, and that's why I'm using a smaller data set so that we can see what is it that we want. So if we were to search here, even if we get James, we want the last James. So which is this, or the last entry that contains the word James. So it is this one. So we are supposed to return what? 12,500. 12,500. So let us see. If we use XLOOKUP, how do we set it? So here, I'll move this on a bit. So I'll say equals XLOOKUP tab key. So the lookup value will be James. Okay. But it will not be James. Okay, we are going to rectify that. Remember, if I refer to I32, they have done. If the reference under the lookup value argument is I32, this will not work, because we want to search for any cell that contains the word James. Whether it has other characters or other items, provided it has James, we want to retrieve that. So we cannot just refer to I32. So we need to add the wildcard characters. So if it was a text, we could have just put in the asterisk and the asterisk. But you see, when you put two asterisks on the side, what does it do? It converts the 132, the I32 into a text. So that cannot work. So what we can do, we can tell Excel this asterisk is a text, and then we use the alpha sand. You see? So if I put the asterisk and denote it as a text, and then I combine it using the alpha sand to I32, then on this other side I put alpha sand and also denote this as like that. So that will mean it is like you're applying asterisk to whatever is referred in I32. Okay, and that now becomes our lookup value. Okay, comma. So the lookup array will be here. That is from B3 to B10, comma. And then the return array. So we want to return the cells. We want to return the cells here. So let us see if it will return 12,000. Close the bracket, enter. Says we are returning what cells? Let me see. B3 to B10. Let me see. Where have we done the error? So I32. Oh, who can tell me where we have done the error? Let me see if people are listening. Where have we done the error? Why is it not? Why is it giving us 8A? Why is it giving us NA? Which argument we need to put? Remember, a last entry. So what it has done, it has searched from the top. So we have not completed the argument. So the fourth argument is supposed to be if not found. So we are going to ignore that by putting another comma. So this is where we made the mistake. Remember, by default, it is exact match. By default, it is exact match. Okay. So it has. So what XLOOKUP has done? It has gone to search for opening speech mark asterisk, and it has gone to search for that entire XLOOKUP combination. But if we put 2 here as the wildcard character match, so anytime you put 2 here, you have to make sure your lookup has what? These asterisk and the question mark or the tilde, okay? Comma. And then we are starting from the below. So we put -1 and we close the bracket. So that was the error that we were having. We had not put the correct argument. So we needed to put 2 as part of the match mode so that it does not do the default match mode, which is as exact match. It does what? It gives you the wildcard character match. So if you close the bracket, you tap enter. So now it will give you 5,500 because we have set the last argument, which is the search mode, we've set it to -1. And then the fifth argument, which is the match mode, we have set it to 2, which is the wildcard character match. Okay? And these ones you can explore them. The asterisk, how that is the pronunciation. There's a question mark, and then the tilde. Okay? So all these can be used in a very diverse way. So any kind of reconciliation you want to compare documents, you can be able to use these to compare 2 documents and such. Good. So that was for reconciliation. If there's a question, feel free. I will have these shared so that you can be able to practice later on. Good. Any question up to there? So that I go to the last item, the last demonstration, which is very, very important. There was a question on Power BI. So I want us to move to the next bit. If there's a question, feel free. Let me check this screen, big screen. Okay. Yes. For practice, yes, I'm going to share these so that you can be able to work on them. You follow this, whatever we demonstrated, then you practice it. So this was a request for purposes of things like bank reconciliation. You want to compare documents and you want to make it as dynamic as possible. Then XLOOKUP is the ideal. Okay? So let me close this one and head to the next bit. So the other bit, I think, just to answer the questions on live updates. Live updates, that is automation. That one I'll touch on it, but I'll not talk about it that much. So what I want to talk about is pivot tables, data cleaning, data modeling, and how we can take advantage of a pivot table. So that moving forward, if you have any large data set, you can be able to work with it. So here, again, I'm going to use very small data sets, but in application, you come across very huge data sets. Okay? And by the way, for a full class, of course, that's what we do. And of course, you have huge data sets from real maybe organizations or real projects. But for here, we just want to do the demo. Now, when we were talking about the different steps, step number 7, we had talked about, not step number 7, was it step number 7? We had talked about the other additional tools. Actually, yes, step number 7, the Power Query, the Power Pivot, and other modeling tools in Power BI. Okay, and those are some of the things I want us to look at. Now, when you get data, maybe sometimes from a system or maybe there's a data collection that was being conducted and you have been shared their data, and you want to clean this data, okay? The right terminology is you want to perform data transformation, and you want to perform data transformation. The tool that you need to use is what we call the Power Query. And let us see how it works. First, let us explore the data that we have. So currently I have dataset 1, dataset 2, and dataset 5. Let us open dataset 1. So dataset 1 is a simple Excel file, sheet 1, and you can see here we have a data set that is a bit unclean. So it means when data was being collected, proper validation was not done. So remember, data validation, we call it preventive. It's a more of a preventive mechanism. The use of data cleaning tools like the Power Query is a corrective approach. So normally in data transformation, we have not data transformation, but when we are getting data, either through data collection or data entry manually, we either prevent unwanted data or we correct the unwanted data. Okay? So preventing, we talk about data validation and data and control, of course, controlling data. In data in correction, okay, or in corrective approach, so we use now the Power Query. We use queries to correct the data, okay? So you can see here we have a small data set. The name of the data set is sheet 1. We have the salesperson and amount column. We have the item and receipt number, okay? So you can see the salesperson and amount, there's sort of like an error here. It is like the salesperson and the amount were somehow combined using a hyphen. So maybe that is just a small cleanup that we need to do. Same case for item and receipt number. They're supposed to be different. Item, column, then receipt number. So I think that's another thing we need to correct. And there are other errors sometimes in Excel that exist that you may not be able to see and that may distort your analysis. For example, here we have other columns that are not visible. So we might need to use other tools to see that. So that is dataset 1. So we close that one. Let us look at dataset 2. So dataset 2 is also a PDF. So it's it's a Excel. At dataset 2, we have the salespeople. Okay. So this is more of like a register of the salespeople. You can see Mary, Susan. So these are the salespeople who were appearing in the other record. So these are their ages, their employee number. Okay. Dataset 3, again, still a register, but now the regions they work. So region 1, 2. For example, Mary and Judy, they're in the same region. Mary and Judy are in the same region. But if you look at this dataset 2 and 3 would have been merged if you were to optimize this dataset. And that is a scenario that sometimes we come across. You find two huge datasets that you'd want to combine to form one dataset. So we are just going to demonstrate in a few. Then dataset 4. So these are the items that we are selling. Okay. So you have electronics, cards, the country they are coming from, their revenue targets, and the manager in charge of that particular product. Without closing this, if I open the PDF file, look at the PDF file. So we still have other products. So other than the 3 products in the Excel file, we have others. We have sports goods, other goods, toys, books, stationery, like that. And of course, their country of origin, the manager in charge, and of course, the revenue target. If you look at dataset 4, here, is it under the Excel? If you look at this dataset 4, and you look at this Excel, again, this should have been one dataset. So sometimes you find a situation whereby previous month report and this month report, you want to like put them together, merge them together to be one data set so that you can do your analysis. So this is such a situation. Okay. So we have looked at all the data sets, that one, and even this one. So we close it. So we have reviewed the data set and what is in each of each data set. So we've seen data set 1. The columns have some errors which you need to correct. And I've also mentioned there are some columns that have errors that are not visible. And then data set 2 has 3 worksheets. The first 2 can be combined, and then the one of them can also be combined with the data set in the PDF file. Okay. So if we were to work on this, for example, I want to analyze data sets 1, 2, 3, I want to model, visualize, maybe I want to do a report. What I need to do first of all is to transform these data sets. Okay. So the first step is to create a new workbook and call it, so a new Microsoft workbook, Microsoft Excel workbook, and call it cleaned and transformed data. Cleaned and transformed data. So this is, for me, this is the best practice. I know people will have their own, especially if you go to YouTube, people have their own. But in terms of a standard way in which you can always get your data right without errors is to create a new document, workbook, and call it cleaned and transformed data. So anything that I'm going to clean, I'm going to put it here. Okay. So I open this one. So I've opened that new workbook, this one, cleaned and transformed data. So this new workbook that I've created, this is now where I'm going to get data from dataset 1, dataset 2, dataset 3, clean them, transform them, manipulate them, then have them as cleaned files here. And we're going to do that with the use of queries. Okay, with the use of queries. Now, how do you launch the Power Query Editor? Go to Data. Under Get and Transform Data, there's a command here, Get Data. Click on the down arrow button. The third last command is Launch Power Query Editor. So click on it. Launch Power Query Editor. So in level 7, I said there are other tools attached to the application. And you can see there's another tool that has been opened. This one. So this is the Power Query Editor. And you can see it is separate and distinct from the Excel. Okay, separate and distinct from the Excel. So what you need to do, okay, is to now use this Power Query Editor to retrieve data from dataset 1, dataset 2, and dataset 5, clean them, and then load them to your file. Okay, so what you do under Home tab, and there are so many tabs. Under Home tab, you go to New Query, New Source File. Because we are working with local files, we have Excel file. So if you click on Excel file like that, then you search. I stored mine on the desktop. I think it is here. Materials. So dataset 1. Dataset 1. So I've clicked on dataset 1. You can see it is saying import. Import. Click on import. Connecting. So it is saying connecting. So because it is a query, queries do not load the actual data. So we do not copy and paste the data into a query. No. Okay. I always say the queries are just mirroring the content in our data. So you can see we have sheet 1. And if I check on this other side, I can review the data that I'm going to work with. So if it is okay, if the data is okay, I click on OK here. And then that data will be loaded here as a query. As a query. So, of course, we can be able to talk more about what you can check out what queries are. And then now I can be able to perform a number of data cleaning using these. So there's pivoting, there's a lot of things you can do with these. For example, if I want to split this, I can just select the column, go to transform, and a text and column group. So I'm still on the Power Query editor, split column by delimiter. You can see there's a delimiter, a hyphen. Okay. So the good thing about the Power Query editor, it will detect the kind of delimiter that you're having, and it will propose. So right now it has said, it has chosen custom. Custom means a hyphen or anything, any other character other than a colon, semicolon, like that. So custom, then hyphen, and then this is where you can set. If you have multiple hyphens, you can be able to set here. So I can choose leftmost delimiter because I want to split. Immediately I get the first hyphen. Then I click on OK, and you can see it will split the data into two. Then I can rename this to sales, like that, and then rename this to amount. So remember, even as I'm doing this, the original dataset one source, nothing is being tampered there. It is not being tampered. Actually, that is like a rule of thumb. You do not alter the source. You do not alter the source. Sometimes, even if you want to alter the source, you may not be able to do that. For example, if it is a PDF file, you may not be able to edit that PDF file. Remember, you can get data from even a website. You cannot edit that website if it is a third-party website. So you just connect to the website or to another database, and you get data the way it is. You transform it from here. Okay. So I've split that. Another ingenious way, this item or receipt, is that you can split using what we call something like, you see, this does not have any delimiter. So you can choose something like non-digit to digit. So it will check where textual data and number like data meet, and then split from there. Okay. So rename this one to item, tap enter, then rename this one to receipt number, enter. Okay, so we have our data set now, which is okay. We have our data set, which is okay. These are the columns I was talking about. Sometimes your data set your Excel has errors and you cannot see them. So these ones. So what we can do, we can select them and delete. So we go to Home tab, and then here, remove columns, like that. So that now we remove those unwanted items. Then once you've done that, you can now close and, so if I say close and load, so it will be added here as a cleaned data set, like that. So you see, we have a clean data set here. Okay. But remember, because this is a query, this is a table with a query. Okay, or it is a table created from a query, and then that query is connected to the source, which is that Excel dataset one file. So if we update that Excel dataset file, if we update it, we can set here, we can refresh here, and anytime we refresh, if there was any new data that was added, that new added data will appear here, will be added. Okay, will be added. So that is that. Same case, if I want to also load the other files, so I'll go to data. So this is the process data, get data, launch Power Query editor. So this time I want to new source file, Excel workbook, dataset 2. So remember I had already loaded, worked on dataset 1. So now dataset 2, import. So it will create another query. You create another query. But you see, that file had multiple worksheets. So I check this box, then check the boxes that I want, and then click on OK. So we are creating queries. We are just mirroring the data. But as we mirror this data, we can be able to modify and play around with the reflection without really tampering the source. So dataset 2, dataset 3, and dataset 4. Okay. So maybe I can add another query, the last one, the PDF one. This one, dataset 5. I import it. So we are creating connections. So I can just take this one. This is what is contained there. Okay. So like that. So we have dataset 2, dataset 3. These two, we said we can combine them. So remember, this is salesperson. This is also salesperson. This is the items. This is also items. So we can be able to put them together. So let us put datasets 2 and 3. So to put them together, click on datasets 2. Go to combine group under home tab. So home tab, still on the Power Query editor, home tab, combine. So when you want to combine things column-wise, you choose merge query. So we're going to choose merge as new. Merge as new. And then, so the dataset 2 will be here. Then you combine with dataset 3. So I click here so that I can combine them into one. Click on OK, like that. And it will form a new data set. Something that I need to do in dataset 3, you can see the names of the salespeople. I mean, there are no column names. So there's a dedicated command here, use first row as headers. So it will transform the first row to become the headers. Okay. So salesperson and region. Yes. Here, maybe I can also rename this one to region. Okay. So that here in my match, let me delete this one because now they are not matching. Okay. So now I can merge this. I can manage it with dataset 3. So let me use. So when you say merge, we will take content in dataset 3 and put it in dataset 2. Okay. So like that, like that. So this has to have a green check. This check has to be green to mean that it is okay for merging. Okay. So it will form this. What you do, you need to expand here and check. We want only the region. We uncheck this one. Okay. So that we can have now a new data set with all that information in one. And then we can call this, you can change the name of this query to salesperson details. Okay, so you see we have created a new query, salesperson's details. So that is a combination of 2 and 3. Then I can combine 4, dataset 4, which is items, and here, which is also still items. So when you're combining row-wise, we use append. We use append queries. So we want to combine dataset 4 with this one, page 01. Okay. So it will create a new. So you see, all now the rows will be now in one query. Then we can rename this to sales items details. Enter. And then we can also rename this one, and we call it sales. Okay. So when we learn modeling, we talk about different types of data sets. So we have factual data set like that. So now we have this. Now we can load, close and load, and close and load. So it will load these as queries as part of the cleaned data. So as I've said, there's so much when it comes to cleaning of data. Okay, there are so many techniques of cleaning of data. So here you have item details. This table, now the new table, salesperson details. So all the salespeople, and you can see now we have one table with also the regional, and then these ones. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. So 2 and 3 have been combined to form this one. So we can remove them. Remember, these are not the queries; these are the query outputs. So we remove them. We remove them. This one was a blank worksheet, the one that was there originally. We remove it. We also rename this one. This one was also sales. We replaced it on the query. We renamed the query, but we had not renamed the query output. Good. And that is how you use the Power Query to get data from a source, and then you put it here. Okay? Then you put it here. Now, so this is our cleaned data set. These are cleaned data sets. Or the other term we can say, these are transformed data sets. So by transforming, either you've cleaned, you've removed the noise, you've merged, you have like that. You've removed some rows. So there are different types of data transformation. So now we have clean data. Okay. So once you have cleaned the data, the next thing is to analyze, to model and analyze the data before we visualize. So let us see how to do that. So once you've cleaned, close your document like that. Then open another document, a workbook, and call it modeling and analysis. Modeling and analysis. Okay. So because these three are already connected here, so we want now to connect this modeling and analysis. We connect it to the already cleaned data, and that is the essence of cleaning them and putting them in one workbook. Okay? So open the modeling and analysis. Sorry. Then so you have this workbook. So this is modeling and analysis. Then we launch the data modeling tool. And how do we launch it? Under data tab, data tools group, here, this green command here. And if I put my mouse pointer on top of it, you can see it says data model. So I click on the down arrow button, manage data model, manage data model. So another tool called the Power Pivot. So remember, these tools are used even for huge data sets because they are working with queries and not the actual data. So when you have the Power Pivot opened, remember this is step number 7. When you have the Power Pivot open, what you do, you go to Home tab and get external data from other sources. Then you click on Excel file. Yes, remember, we have all the clean data we've put in an Excel file, and that Excel file we've named it what? Cleaned and transformed data. So next. So it will say friendly name connection. So you browse. You browse for the is it desktop, Masterclass, business. So here. So I'm going to use the Power Pivot now to link to the cleaned and transformed data. So if I click open, so you'll see that. Always make sure to check this box. Always make sure to check this box. And then once you've checked and you've linked to the correct file, you click on next. So this is now an important part. You have to check anything that does not have external data like that. So once you have now selected your files, you can see sales. This one is sales with the sales with the word external data. So not that one. So the one that does not have it. Then you click on finish. So it will check each and every report, and if it is okay, it will put us check success. Then you close. So once you click on close, your now data model will be good to go. Your data model will be good to go. Okay. Now, if we wanted now to do analysis, we use what we call data analysis expressions. Data analysis expressions. For example, and I'm just going to do one. If I go to sales, okay, I go to sales and I see amount, and I want to compute the VAT. Okay, maybe I've not I did not collect the VAT amount. So what I'll do, I will go to Design tab and create what we call a calculated column. Okay, so this is now the data analysis expression. So they're like formulas. So I'm going to put a formula, just a simple formula without a function. So also functions are here. Okay, equals. Then I can call the column. I can call the column, or I can select it using like that. So I can call the column by typing amount, or I can just select it, then times 0. Let's say VAT is 16, 0.16. Okay, enter. So it will create a new calculated column. A new calculated column here. Then I can just rename this to what? To VAT. Yeah? Okay, so I've created, so that is a simple DAX expression. Okay, that is a simple DAX expression. And there are so many other DAX expressions that you can be able to create. There's what we call measures. For example, here, where is it? It is in the home tab under KPIs. Here, measure. So I can just click on this amount, home, then here, calculations. Under calculations, these are, we call them measures. So I can create here maybe a sum. I want a sum. So maybe I want to have total of the amount. So KPIs are normally stored here. You can see below this line, that is where KPIs, that is where measures are. Remember, they work like a database because you're working with large data sets. They work as a database. So that's what I was saying. There's a difference between data collected and a data set. So once you understand the two difference, then you are able to properly analyze your data. Sometimes I see professionals, you find somebody is saying, this is where I'm getting my data, but you see there's a title there, a logo. Where you have a data set, you cannot have titles and logos. So it has to be qualified to be a data set. So anyway, that is a DAX, a simple DAX expression. This is also a simple DAX expression, which is a what do you call it? A measure. Okay, a simple DAX, which is a measure. Okay. So once you've maybe done a lot of calculation, the next thing that you do, you need to create the relationships. So to create the relationships, there are two ways. You can use the dialog box, because these three data sets, there's no way they are related. So we must make sure they are connected. They are one and the same thing. And that is another problem people do when it comes to analysis. So in Power Pivot, we go to the diagram view. Then we connect the items based on, for example, salespeople and salesperson that are the same. And then again, for the sales, you have the item and the item which are the connectors. So you'll find you have these. We call this a schema. Okay, we call it a schema, and there's a way we prepare these schemas to make sure they are optimal. For a small data set, we call this a star schema. These are very optimal data sets. Actually, Microsoft, because they use what you call relational database, they recommend these. But in practical scenarios, this might not be the case. You'll find you have other different types of data sets. So again, you need to know how to build this. We call them model relationship. So this is now what we call data modeling. So let me change to diagram view. So what we have done, we have now, using the Power Pivot, we have created a model, okay, and we've built a very good relationship for the model. So what we do, we save the file and close it. Okay, save the file and close it like that. Here, we need to say enable content. So the model, remember it is part of this modeling and analysis. So if now I want to do analysis, what I'll do, I'll write here. Okay. I'll rename this to analysis. So I can say this is analysis 1. Okay. Maybe I have a number of analysis. And then you see, when you want to do analysis and visualization, you always need to have objectives. You need to set objectives. What are your objectives for this analysis? So, of course, you don't just collect data and start analyzing. Of course, you have to have main objectives, then you break down the objectives like that. So, analysis 1. This is 1. So, we might want to talk about the overall sales performance. And remember, we have already created a quick measure on the total what? On the total sale. So, what is the best tool to use? We go to insert, we use a pivot table. Now, pivot table, ideally, if you do not have data in your model, you will use data from a range, or sometimes you can even get data from other sources. But since we have already modeled our data in the Power Pivot, now this option becomes active from data model. So we click on that here, existing worksheet, click on OK, and we have our pivot table. And you can see our pivot table now includes the three what? The 3 cleaned files. So if I want to visualize, for example, I want to see total sales, I will go to here, take the sum of amount, and put it under values, like that. So that is analysis 1. So if I want to do visual 1, remember I do not have objective. I do not have objective, so I'm doing just any visualization 1. And remember, visualizations are not the same as dashboards. Visualization is different from dashboards. As much as we use visuals for dashboards, they are different. Okay, so there's a difference between saying I'm visualizing data and I'm creating a dashboard. They are two different, I think. So here at this level, we create visual 1. So the visual 1, it is this one. Here we want to represent this. You can see the total is 101,137.6. So because I want all this to be connected, I'll go to Design tab or Pivot Analyze and use a pivot chart. Okay, and use a pivot chart. So if there are 2 items, maybe I want a pie chart or any that I want. If I want a pie chart, if I was comparing 2 items, maybe I had 2 measures, I would just put them under the values. Okay, so like that. Then I can just take this and move it. Under pivot, there is a command to move chart to visual 1. Okay, like that. Okay, so like that. And then, so this is the total sales for all the regions. So what I can do, if I want now to present different locations, I can insert what we call a slicer. That. And maybe I want to present per item. Like that. So we have a slicer here. So out of the total, books, so I cannot see until I put the, what do you call it? The percentage. But remember, this one is a total. This is total of the whole sales. So it does not make sense to put a slicer here. I wish it was just 2 items. Remember, when you're doing presentations, you start from the global perspective, then you narrow down up to, we call it the funnel approach. So use the funnel approach when it comes to presentation. From the global, you narrow down to the specific item. So this is more global because we are looking at the total sales. So this one might not be ideal to put a slicer there. Okay, let us do something else. Maybe we can look at analysis 2, like that. And then let me add a line there. So in analysis 2, we can still use, and this is now where you express the true power of the pivot tables, because you can be getting data from many diverse data sets, bring them together, clean them, then visualize them the way you want them. So here, maybe I want for the sales, I take the amount and the values, and then the other data set is which one? Sales items, this one. I take the item and put it under rows like that. So remember, the sales item is connected to the sales. Okay, and whether if you miss that part where you connect, where you create the relationship, it will not work properly. Sometimes it might even give you the wrong figure. So you have to make sure you create relationship. So if I was to visualize this, maybe I would use what? Use pivot chart. So you can see I have this one, which is already recommended. I can also use a pie chart, something of the sort. You can exploded pie chart. Depends with what I want to visualize. Okay, then I can move it. Move chart. Do we have? So before we move, I can create visualization 2. Okay. So remember, when you're creating visualization, you're not creating a dashboard. Okay, you are creating individual visuals. So here, design tab, move the chart. You're moving the chart to visualization 2, like that. So at this point, we can put a slicer. We can insert a slicer. We click on this, insert a slicer here, and you can see the slicers become even more dynamic. So for example, maybe I want to talk about an individual, let me see, sales item. And I can choose all. Maybe I talk about a region. I want to showcase region by region. So remember, salesperson's details, if it was not connected to the item, you could not do this. But then now you can analyze based on region. So I can have this. So I can click region 1, and I can see the distribution. I can click region 2, see the distribution, region 3, see the distribution. Or I can remove the filter like that. And of course, now when we talk about visualization, there's a lot. Chart elements are very important. How to set the chart elements, data labels. There's this one call out. Where's the call out? Nowadays, I really like the call out. Like that, so that you can see at a global, we have stationary, which was 18%. But for region 1, stationary, was it there? It was 0%. In region 2, stationary was 28%. In region 3, stationary was 35%. Okay, so that is the process. We get the data, we clean it, we model it, we visualize it. Okay, and then now if you want to create a dashboard, so in our dashboard, we are now going to take all the slicers, we put them together, and we pick the key visuals and put them in one worksheet. We call it a dashboard. So when you have multiple worksheets and multiple visualization, you pick the key ones and you pick the key information that you want to display in your dashboard, and then you put it there. So the definition of a dashboard is a collection of visuals that are interactive with the user. Okay, interactive with the user and that permit collaboration. Okay, so that is a dashboard. Interaction with the user and can permit what? Collaboration. And by the way, if you have, for example, you have these, and you have another visuals here. If it was a dashboard, so there's a way you can link this slicer to other visuals here. So in your dashboard, you take this slicer, you link it to all the other visuals, so that when you change, for example, from to region 1, all the visuals change automatically. Okay, they change automatically. So this is Excel. That is Excel, and how you use the how you clean, model, and visualize data. Okay. So let us see. I can see it is 5:30. So that one I'm going to take about 10 minutes to demonstrate, and then we close it at that. So that in case you have any question, I think by 6 we'll be done, or maybe 5:45, next 15 minutes. Now, so this same process, you can achieve it using Power BI. So let us see. Okay, let me close here. Okay. So here, you can achieve that cleaning, modeling, and analysis in Power BI. But so for Power BI, you don't need to create these files. You just need to create a Power BI file. So let me open Power BI. It's a very heavy tool. Allow me to unshare first one. So just give me 1 minute. I start up the Power BI. We describe it. We see how it can perform the same process, and then we wind up. So 1 minute. I launch the Power BI. So just 1 minute. I restart the machine so that it can load. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. I think the machine had gotten tired. You know, when you process a lot of data, expect such kind of behaviors. I think the machine has been running overnight because of some work, so maybe that's why. Okay. So I hope you can be able to see my screen. Confirm if you can be able to see my screen and that you can hear me, so that you can look at Power BI. So you can see, look at Power BI. So this is the Power BI desktop. So normally there are three types of let me just put my camera on. So normally there are three types of what do you call them? Power BI, the main one. We have the Power BI desktop, which is a free version actually, the Power BI desktop. So like what I've now opened is the Power BI desktop. If you look at the title bar, we have the Power BI service, we have the Power BI mobile, and we have the Power BI server. So normally there are four. But at a user level, we normally use the three. Power BI desktop, what you're having, which is a free item, you just download it. I can share a link where you can download later on. Then the Power BI service, which is an online, so where we now create the dashboards. We've said one of the features of a dashboard is to collaborate. It is to be interactive and to be collaborative. So the visuals for the visuals. So we have the Power BI service for that. But the most important is the Power BI desktop, because this is now where you perform almost all the analytics. Okay. So if now the whole process, if I was to do the whole process, what I'll do here, I'll go to home. Sorry, I'll click first of all blank report. Okay, blank report, and that is the blank Power BI report. So you can see the interface is more modern, as I had mentioned. It's a more modern interface. It's a more exciting interface, actually. And everything that we've done, the cleaning, the Power Query, the modeling, everything is bundled together in this Power BI. Okay, so if I wanted to get data for transformation, what do I do? Just go to the Home tab, look at the data group here, Get Data. Get Data. So you just click on Get Data, then you choose. If it is an Excel workbook, you choose. You go to, is it Masterclass, webinar, data set 1. So remember the first step we did was data cleaning, but you used Power Query Editor. So for the Power BI, you go directly. You don't need to. Okay? So you load the data. You see, connecting data set 1. So tools have been integrated. The same navigator that you are seeing in Excel, it is also here. It is also here. If I click on sheet 1, same thing. Same errors that were highlighted, the blank columns. Remember the blank columns? The same way. Check the box. And then for Power BI, for Excel, we just said load. But for Power BI, you can go to an extra step where you clean the data before you load it. But I always prefer load the data first. So we load the data first. And you'll see here in this pane, here, you see we have, it is still loading. We have 3 panes. This is the most important, the visualization pane. So data has been loaded, but remember data has been loaded that is not clean. So we have loaded the data to Power BI. Okay. 116 rows have been added. And you'll see here under the data pane, you'll see it will appear. Let's give it a minute. Yeah, sheet 1. And then, so we have 3 panes: filters, visualization, and data. So this default pane, we call it the Canva. So the Canva is where now you design the vision. You can see the moment we open the first blank report, it goes directly to the Canva, meaning this is a tool for visualization. Now, if sheet 1, this one, I want to see the content, I change the view here to table view. So I can be able to see the content that is not okay. Okay. If I want to clean that content, I go back to the view, the report view, home tab, under queries group, I click transform. And it will open for me the what? The Power Query editor. So also the Power Query editor is here. It is here. Okay. So I can perform all those things that I have done. If it is removing columns, for example, if I just remove these columns like this, and then we had split some columns like that. The only difference is when you go to Home tab, when you want now to apply, you see here it is close and apply. In Excel it was close and load because the two softwares are not joined that much together. But the Power Query Editor in Power BI, they are closely connected. So you either apply without closing. So if you apply the data, then you close afterwards. Okay. Then you see your data. So the beauty of this is that you can apply and see if the data is successfully applied before you close the query editor. That is the beauty of this. So you can apply, see if there are any errors are going to pop up. If there's none, then you close the query editor. But the Power Query Editor, the one that we saw in Excel, it is also here. I think that is one. When it comes to, so when you clean data, automatically it goes to the model itself. So the entire Power BI is a model on its own. Look at it. If you look at this report view, table view, model view. If you click on model view, remember we had some sheet 1, sheet 2 like that. We were creating the relationships. So for Power BI, you don't need to open Power Pivot. So it has its own built-in Power Pivot. Basically, it is able to model data on its own. And you can see the cards are a bit more friendlier in terms of appearance. Also, you can hide them. You can hide these from your report. You see, you can be able to hide this from your report and analysis. So those are some two of the added benefits when it comes to modeling data with these. When it comes to data analysis expressions, yeah, you can also create what? New calculated. You can see a new column. You can create new calculated columns and you put your DAX. But of course, the way you create the DAX here is a bit different. For the DAX here, you can also create the title of the column in advance. Okay, in advance, and then you create what we call the calculated columns. Also, you can create, so with that, you can also do the quick measure. So here, for Power BI, you have new measure and you have quick measures. In Excel, you only have measures. Okay. This mark as date table, that was there. Even in Excel, there is mark as date table. This is another important thing. Yeah? So it is also in Power BI. So the cleaning using the Power Query, it is shared. The modeling in Excel, we use the Power Pivot. And remember, the Power Pivot and the Power Query in Excel, they are not attached to each other. So there's a very lengthy process. But for the Power BI, the tools are somehow integrated, infused so much that the process is a bit seamless. Okay. And then for the visualization, so if I was to do the analysis, I'll do them here. Then for the visualization, I'll work on them here. One of the powerful things that I've seen with these is, you see all these are charts. These are visualizations. There are so many. For example, I was training some people on project monitoring and evaluation. And things like Gantt charts, you're able even to get them here. Okay. You can even add Gantt charts, and that Gantt chart you add the what? The details, you add even the location details. Maybe you have like specific coordinates of the map. Maybe people went to do research and they gave you the coordinates. You can go to analyze such data. Yeah. So the visualization is very, very, very dynamic. There are things like drill through filters. There's so many things that you can be able to get. We also have the filters, the slicers, we have the gauge. I mean, there's so much that you can be able to do with the visualization. Okay, so it is the same process, but now when it comes to the modern field, the modern things that this can do, it is more. Okay, it is more. So that's why it is important. Master Excel. Excel, if you've reached a point now, you're feeling Excel is no longer the ideal tool for you, then you can move that data to Power Query. And then the beauty of it is that with the Power BI. So the Power BI, you can also connect it to other sources like websites, SQL servers, and such. Another good thing, because it is a modern software, it is more powerful. You can even look at its build. It's very, very powerful. You can look at the size it occupies on your desktop. It's huge. So meaning it's a very powerful software. Okay, it's a very powerful software. So make sure if you have data that you want to do those X lookup, the X lookup now you cannot do them here. That lookup, you cannot really do it. That's searching for a value. You can use a DAX. There's a DAX on filter, but it doesn't really work the same way because remember these are databases. They work in form of databases. Yeah? So there's a huge difference. And then the other thing about this is Power BI desktop. You can scale this to an organizational level. Yeah, you can do it. You can do this at a regional level. There is a button here, publish. So the moment I click publish, you can see it says publish this report online in the Power BI service. So if we have this in our organization, and I have trained a group on Power BI. Actually, they never thought they have Power BI. If you have 365, go and check if you have Power BI as part of the apps. So you can always publish the report. Then the report, you go to the Power BI service, you'll get such a platform. But that platform now, it will have other tools for creating dashboards, and creating those paginated reports, and setting the automation. It's a very interesting tool. So again, one, you're able to scale. Two, it has a modern field. Its capacity is a bit high. There are new things when it comes to it. Is very powerful when it comes to visualization. Okay? And also when it comes to data analysis expressions here, when you want to create these calculated columns, it is very easy. Because remember, if I create a column here, it is actually the same as just working with the Power Query editor. And I think maybe as it keeps on developing, this Power BI, when I was using it in 2022, actually, there were only 3 views. The DAX view here, the DAX view, and the developer's view were not there. So the DAX view, here you can put AI to help you calculate. Okay? So you can have AI to help you build what? Data analysis expression. For example, you want to compare this and that, and you want that calculation, it can be able to do that very, very fast. And then there's something we've seen under measures here, quick measures. So in case you don't know how to do the calculation, you can be able to choose from there. And then and of course they are so versatile. They're very versatile. I think in Excel we've seen like a few, but for this one they are very versatile. So this is more like an advancement of the Excel. Okay, so you do Excel. If you don't work with huge data sets, or you work in an organization maybe people have not yet embraced the Power BI. In the meantime, you can be using the Excel, visualize, model like that. But as you progress, as you learn Power BI, you can be able to migrate your analysis and visualization in Power BI. Okay? Good. So I think from there, we've talked enough. Thank you so much for keeping glued. The presentation is not easy. We took a lot of time also in the theory part of it, which is also good just to help us understand what we expect. And I hope we'll be able to see you in class very soon. Usually, let me just see. Excel, my presentation was this. So just to wind, I think I had already done the last bit. I just share the presentation. I wind up. So just to recap, I think I hope it has been a fruitful session. I just want to recap, and then in case there be any question, you can be able to ask. We'll also, of course, share the recordings. Of course, share the recordings. Let me go to here. Like that. So I've used simplified data sets. I hope we've seen that. So we've used simplified data sets. So remember, those are simple data sets. There are some things that we have not really explored in terms of where you're having huge data sets. Maybe where you're having different, there's something we call factual data sets. When you have two or more factual data sets, how do you create the relationships? How do you create the DAX? Or how can the DAX also help you to create or build those relationships? So we've used simplified data sets. Let me see something else we've done. So of course, we've talked about the new function that is the X lookup. It's a very powerful function, especially when you nest it with things like sum if, and sum ifs. If you nest sum ifs and X lookup, it's a very powerful combination. I have, when we talk in class, I have a file that has almost half a page of nested functions. Okay. It was a donor-funded report that we were doing using Excel. So that is a very ideal for practice and also for what we call formula auditing. So we looked at complex. We've not done complex nesting. We've just combined the XLOOKUP, but complex nesting is there. We talked about the Power Query editor. We talked about the Power Pivot, and we looked at now the Power BI. Okay, good. And then something else. Let me see. So I was able to share the link. So those links, you can be able to use them. Oh, something else. There is a self-test assessment that we created. So especially for Excel. And this is just to help you to know if, to know at what level you are in Excel. So we'll be able to share that and you can tackle it, and then we can be able to give you feedback and tell you you scored this. So we call it factory recall. It's a factory recall test. It tries to see if you can remember the terminologies or the procedures when it comes to advanced Excel. So if you get a certain score, we recommend intermediate. If you get a certain score, we say you just go to Power BI. Okay, so it's a good test that I think we will be able to share as we share the recording there. Lastly, as we continue, we look at this screen. So what are some of the actions to take? One, join our upcoming classes. So whatever we've done today is just a touch of what we can do in class. So we have classes starting on 4th of May. That is, I think, next week, Monday at 8 p.m. I think with more details can be able to share. So normally our classes are 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. just to accommodate people who are working. Then we also have the physical classes on weekends, either Saturday or Sunday, but most of the time Saturday. So whatever is to be covered during the weekday, we cover it during the Saturday on a full day. And of course, because it is Labor Day, we have a 12% discount that will be enrolled during this duration, this Labor Day duration. Then you can also visit our website, and in case you want a one-on-one advice on the tools, maybe you want to talk about, maybe you have a team that you want us to customize some trainings or your own individual training, feel free to reach out. At a personal level, I'm available. in case you'd want to talk to me at a personal level. So I'm the lead trainer at Token Data. I'm in charge of training and delivery. That is my number, 0710 782 719. You can reach out to me via text, any. And then also email info@tokendata, then you can be able to have a conversation. So I don't know if there's a question. I can see it is 5:55. Maybe I can just check if there is something specific. I think I had refreshed my. So anyway, in case there's any question, feel free to reach out, and we'll be able to work together on the same. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to engaging you more in either in class or in the next webinar. So we normally have webinars every end of the month. I think the next one will be, let me just see, we'll be having another webinar that is May, end of May. Yes, on May 28th, we'll be having another webinar on project management. So computerized project management, monitoring and evaluation. Yeah, so we'll be having a project centered on project management, which I think is ideal in case you handle projects and you want to understand how fundraising is done, project financing and budgeting. So we'll be having a discussion around that area. And of course, for that, we'll have other key experts. So we'll be there. It will be a webinar, not a masterclass. So we'll be having other people doing their presentation and sharing their insights. So during these webinars and masterclasses, they help for professional development. They help to just give you more and more information and knowledge. So thank you for joining, and I hope to see you in class and in our next events.